On a warm July morning in 1943, the Royal Air Force Base in Northampton buzzed with activity. Soldiers and technicians moved about, inspecting and preparing the aircraft for a crucial mission. The B-17 Flying Fortress, an American behemoth of the skies, stood proudly on the tarmac, ready for its pivotal mission over occupied Europe. The target was an armaments factory in the German city of Dresden, a strategically significant objective. Captain Jonathan Morrison, a young pilot with extensive experience, meticulously checked his aircraft. This wasn't his first mission over Europe, but he knew each flight carried its own set of risks. Beside him stood his co-pilot, Lieutenant James Carter, reviewing final navigation details and plans. Behind them, the rest of the crew sat at their designated stations, prepared for whatever surprises the skies might hold. The four massive engines roared to life, gradually increasing in speed, causing the aircraft to shudder. The plane slowly rolled down the runway, accelerating until it lifted into the air, marking the beginning of its long journey into enemy territory. The atmosphere during the flight was charged with tension. Everyone knew that German air defenses would be waiting for them. The weather was overcast, providing some cover from ground visibility, but complicating navigation. The plane flew at high altitudes to avoid ground-based anti-aircraft fire, though this was insufficient to shield them from enemy fighters. As the aircraft neared German territory, the scenery changed. On the horizon, German fighters sped towards them. This was the critical moment everyone had been preparing for, as the gunners took up their defensive positions. Lieutenant Thomas, the nose gunner, scanned the skies intently, while Sergeant George, the tail gunner, braced for the onslaught. Gunfire filled the air, and the aircraft shuddered under the strain of Captain Morrison's evasive maneuvers. Despite the chaos, the plane successfully reached its target. Sergeant Tom, the bombardier, watched the cityscape through the bombing hatch, waiting for the perfect moment. When the time came, Sergeant Tom released the bombs, which fell precisely onto the factory, setting off tremendous explosions. This was the climax of the mission, but time was not on their side. They needed to retreat quickly before the defenses intensified and the return journey became impossible. On the way back, the aircraft had sustained several hits and one engine was struggling. Nonetheless, the crew continued to work in unison, cooperating to overcome the challenges. The sky behind them was ablaze with fire and gunshots, but they were determined to return safely. After hours of grueling flight, the familiar outlines of British land appeared. The base was nearing, bringing with it the hope of survival. When the plane finally touched down safely on the runway, they were greeted by their comrades who had anxiously followed the mission. With that mission, the crew made a significant contribution to the war effort against Nazi Germany. Each member knew the war was far from over, and more missions awaited them. But in that moment, the success they achieved was worth all the risks they had faced. Captain Morrison and his crew had once again demonstrated their courage and resilience in the face of adversity, making the Flying Fortress a symbol of strength and determination in the skies of World War II.